bus just dropped us off, us and the other two gringos, at this beautiful stone church, kind of sitting in the side of the mountain with some greenery around it and not much else. There's a storm building behind me and one over in the valley as well. But you can definitely feel the elevation. That ride in was pretty getting jerked around the whole time, so I just need a minute to stretch and not get sick. Nobody else around, and it's just rain and fog within a cloud. The weather's pretty nasty out there, but we found this little chapel to be in, this little place where people, are sacrificing things. We're just sitting here waiting for the weather to end, under a good roof, in a cloud. Kind of exactly what you hope for when you go out of the country to find adventure, is this. I actually found this place because I was sitting on the toilet and saw a pair of rings on the ground, and I reached down and picked them up and then started talking because I thought Dotti was in the stall next to me, but turns out it was a guy. So I put the rings back on the ground, and the dude picked them up and then was looking at me like I was trying to steal from him, but I'm like, hey, my bad, and then introduced myself, and then we got to talking, and he told me about all the cool stuff he had seen in Bolivia, and he said that this was definitely something I didn't want to miss, that there was a hike further out in the countryside that had dinosaur tracks on it, and that we definitely needed to go before we left the Sucre area. His name is Daniel. He's from Israel, and like him, a lot of other Israelis leave the country right after they're done with their mandatory military service and either go to South America or travel in Far East Asia. I've met several along the way, but this is the second that I actually got to spend a little bit of time with. So we didn't know the water situation coming in. We thought it'd all be nasty or maybe dry out here. But I was optimistic because it is the rainy season, and there actually have been one stream, 2 springs so far. So 3 water sources. One was right at the start, but still we're carrying 3 liters each of bottled water from town, and then Dottie's got half a liter of lemonade as like a treat. There's where we started, and then we're about 2/3 of the way done with the downhill. We're going to hit the bottom of the valley, which I almost guarantee there's going to be a river there. There always is. And then start a more gradual up and down climb for the rest of the hike. Dotti found all the stuff we needed to do for this hike online. There was a tiny, tiny office in the town of Sucre where you could catch a bus out to this side of the mountain. But the buses were irregular, which means they sell tickets for every seat on the bus and then they leave when it's full. They don't have a set schedule. It's as fast as you can fill up the bus. And when we got there, there were 3 locals who had already bought their tickets, and then there was me and Dotti. And then when 2 other white people came who also wanted to do the hike, they pulled the 4 of us aside and said, you guys could just buy every ticket for every seat on the bus. And it ended up being $20 for me, and then the other 2 paid their $20, and then we had the whole bus. And it was honestly better to just pay the $20 than to sit around waiting all day for this bus to fill up, going to a tiny village way out in the mountains. Part of the bus culture here are the vendors who come onto the bus when the bus stops and try and sell food or phone chargers or drinks to the passengers. And probably one of the funnier moments of this whole trip was when these 3 ladies opened the door on the bus and then started getting into it, just to realize there was just 4 white people and 3 locals. And the 3 locals were laughing at them because I think they were expecting more like 18 or 20 customers in the van, but there was just a few of us. The hike started out with some rain, and we were able to hide in the little area beside the church. But the further we walked through the mountains, the trail, the dirt roads that led to the other village, the more we were just seeing sheep and dogs, and only a few people. Usually the people were just walking along with the sheep. Technically, only the first part of the route was an actual trail. That was the part that had a stone pathway, an easy area to walk on with these beautiful views as we were going. But for the rest of it, we were mostly following dirt roads. Honestly, there was a few motorcycles and I think 1 car for the whole 2 days that we were walking. So there's essentially more people on the trails in the U.S. than there are on these dirt roads. Our dinosaur footprints somewhere on the ground along the way. And we just saw a sign saying that they were this way.
500 meters.
500 meters. That was 700 meters ago. Still no dinosaur footprints. And we went off the road once to look around. And now we're back on the road looking for more footprints.
Any footprints.
Yeah. It'd be pretty cool to see if we can find them, but... Well, it's getting dark. And we can't find the dinosaur tracks, but mainly That is what we're worried about at the moment. Moon's coming out. There's no trees. Kind of exposed out here, so we did want something with a little bit of cover. We have a little bit of a draw in here that we can camp. Here's what I eat everywhere I go in the world. Chicken flavored instant noodles.
Same.
That's the spot.
What?
Got this dry last night, and we've got how many, Dottie? 21?
21 k's to go.
21 kilometers to the end of the trek. What?
We were lazy yesterday.
Yeah, we were pretty lazy. We didn't go the whole way.
But we also started at like 1:32.
More of the mountains I was talking about. With the, it's like there's a crease in it where the green stops and then the color really comes out. Right over there. You let me sneak right up on you. What's up, buddy? Because the process is so informal, it might not seem like you actually need to buy permits for this hike, but you do. You get approached by a family riding a motorcycle, you sign your name in a book, and you give them $2 per person. But that fee does not include any kind of facilities, bathroom or otherwise. Right under that tree, under a rock, I dug a hole. I was pooping, and a local came by and looked at me like, well, I was in the middle of it, and I waved at him, and he went and turned away because, you know, you get caught doing something embarrassing. You want them to be the one that's staring at someone doing something embarrassing instead of you being the one being caught. So if you get caught doing something embarrassing, keep doing it. Otherwise, you're going to be the one who got caught instead of them being the one who's staring. It worked. I've been looking in the wrong place last night. This is saying dinosaur remains are that way. Came in on this trail off of the main trail to see this waterfall right over there. And this is where either the trail ends or you start getting wet by climbing into this cave. Looking out for all these stalactites. There's some columns back there too. And of course all the things that like to live in caves as well. It's pretty low hanging wall of this cave, low hanging ceiling, but I'm gonna see how far I can get into it. That side drops off, so it's not like I can't go around, but there's a black hole that looks promising. I'll see what's inside of there. Looks like this is as far as I'm going. Kind of ends back there. As beautiful as it is out in this place, I really can't imagine that it's easy to live out here. And I admire anyone who's out here making a living because you got a rough bus, 2 hours to get to the city to sell any of your goods. And as beautiful as the area is, it doesn't look like there's much work out here. It looks like everyone's livelihood lives and dies with the harvest or with the herd. So the store's closed. So I knocked on or just hollered out in the corral. And this kid came out and sold me 2 liters of water for 10 bolivianos, which is $1. And I'm pretty proud I was able to handle that transaction using only Spanish. And he actually understood me because, like, I feel like adults are more sympathetic to a bad accent, but if you say a word with a bad accent, the kid just won't understand it. He'll just look at you and say, "¿Qué? ¿Cómo?" They just don't know like what you're saying, but he did. He sold me a bottle of water. So, Dottie,
I know, I fell.
you fell in cow caca.
No, I fell on the rock. I missed it.
That's cow caca.
Yep, I know if it's rocks.
Doesn't smell like rocks. And this is the crater of Maragua. So you can see a long line of elevation going around the town. 360 degrees, and I guess all the fertile soil kind of slid down into the crater, because there we've got some tea growing, mint tea, and then, I mean, all kinds of crops. We got grazing pastures and corn and everything. It seems like they're doing pretty well for themselves down here. But you can see that one way or another, you got to go up to get out of this town because we're in a crater. I know there's a similar species of this plant in the desert states in the U.S., but I still like it. This cartoonish flower that grows out of it literally looks like a Dr. Seuss tree, and it's how the plant reproduces. It's funny because it is a plant, not really a tree, and it all comes out of this tiny base. This was the most traffic we experienced on the whole hike. We were out there for 2 days, and mostly the only people who wanted to talk to us were the ones who collected $2 to pass through their area, which I can understand. It is beautiful, and I guess I would have paid more. I like this kind of traveling because you really get to see the area that you're going through, especially if you're walking. I mean, also in a canoe, and I guess the same logic would apply for a bike, although I've never taken a trip on a bicycle. But when you walk through an area, you really get to see all the texture of it. You get to see the people. You get to feel it and smell it. And traveling is the primary way that I'm educating myself, so I feel like I need to try a lot of different ways to travel before I could say I've been fully formed or fully educated. And I'm always willing to try out new places to expand that scope of my education. Found it, Dottie.
Finally.
Yeah. He's walking away to his house right now, but there is a gentleman who kind of takes care of the place and who built this nice wall and staircase around it, I'm assuming. And yep, he gives you a ticket. It's $2 per person. And look at that. Right there. There's the size of my hand. That's the footprint for some kind of carnivorous dinosaur. I guess he walked up here. Wow. Yeah, you can see there's his heel, and then there's his toes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Here's another one. Look at this little guy. About the same size as my fingers. This one pretty much leaves no doubt. Yep. Wow. Check it out. What would be really funny is if people thousands of years ago were out here herding sheep, and then somebody just told a tall story of an animal he saw and put the prints in the ground to make it seem like it actually happened. And then his friends are like, oh, you got a point. And then no one ever cleaned up the prints and they turned to stone. And now here we are thousands of years later being like, oh, a dinosaur was here. I mean, it's not... I don't have very small hands like this guy. That is a proper beast. Look at that. I spoke with the man and asked him how many people are coming, and he said at most 3 or 4 per day. And I guess we're the only ones today. But if this was in any place that was easy to get to, or yeah, especially if it was back home in the United States, they'd ruin it. They'd make it I don't know. They'd make it so you can't touch it, you can't explore it. There'd be crowds and whatever, but luckily that's not the case. There's his heel. This is just the heel, right? Just the heel. And then there's the top part of its foot, its toes. You can see left toe.
Wait, that's the same one?
Right toe. I think so. Oh. Look at the size of this thing. See, there's its heel.
2 different feet.
Could be.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Dang.
I'm not sure if it's the same one. Either it stops here or it stops here. I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, it's a massive print. Look at the size of that pig. All right, so I think it's left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. But look at the size of just one foot. Heel, right toe, middle toe. You see that little, that's the claw right there. Left toe. Look at how big it is. Just a little bit shorter than me. It's at least my entire torso and like down to my ankles, the size of this thing. Just its foot. I think it's more dinosaur tracks. This was further down the trail. After we had already left the area you had to buy a ticket for, but I think this is just a random dinosaur print that they didn't really pay attention to, or that I guess there's so many of them they don't really need to put all of them into a designated area.
And it's not just that one either. This one right here. There's more right here. Yeah. Here's one. This one's a little more clear. See? There's the heel, the toes. This whole place is covered in tracks.
At the start of the day, those 21 kilometers up and down these mountains might have seemed like a lot, but once we started finding more and more cool stuff like this, and not just this, but also the mountains, the view, the sky started to clear, then there was really no rush to get it done. And the trek finished in a village on the other side of the mountain from here where we were hiking. I had heard that the last bus left that village at 5 o'clock, but the truth is we had enough food in the pack for maybe 2 more days, so even if we missed that bus and all the buses the next day, it was fine to just go stay out in the mountains. And if they had roads over there like they did over here, we would have enough walking to keep us busy for those days too.
Rejoin that road and then follow it to a town where the trek ends. But until then, we were walking on this like really deep colored soil and through some pretty neat little areas. You know, the trail's not like heavily traveled, so you gotta constantly be like looking at the map, seeing where you are, seeing where you're supposed to be, because like even the grass isn't worn down. Like there's a footprint, but I don't know, it's just tricky to follow sometimes.
Taking it easy, taking it slower, not always rushing to make the bus. That's something that I've been getting better at as time goes on, because I have a tendency to live very urgently, and by that I mean if I want to do something, I start taking steps to start doing it immediately. And once I have that momentum behind me of urgently doing something, it's hard to slow down once I'm actually doing it and enjoy it, instead of just rushing to get it done so I have another achievement or something. So on this hike, I think I did pretty well at that. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't trying to make the most miles or do it quickly. And we did get on the bus out of town, but not by much.
We're done.
Yeah, finished.
2 days over some of the most beautiful countryside that we've seen in South America so far. We're in the Plaza de 15 de Agosto, and this is the center of town where the trek ends. Of course, a lot of this was walking on little dirt roads, and we could keep on walking little dirt roads, and I think I will in the future, because
You don't have to compete with any vehicles, really.
yeah, I was passed
It's really
by one
nice,
bus,
easy walking and views the whole time.
1 bus, 2 motorcycles, and
2 days.
hundreds of sheep. So definitely worth the trek.
It was worth the trek. It was worth the time, and I'm glad I almost accidentally stole that kid Daniel's rings from in that bathroom, and that I sat down with him afterwards and talked for a while. Because without him telling me, I never would have known about this place. So I'm putting information to it in the video. If you want to go out and visit it yourself, those mountains aren't going anywhere. If you go during the rainy season like we did, they'll be as green for you as they were for us. And the dinosaur tracks, they're literally set in stone. They've been there for a while, and I've got a feeling they're going to be there for a while longer too.